And as I'm putting the pump back into the nozzle, I hear this woman's voice, and she goes, "Young man, excuse me, young man." Well, I turn around and it's this elderly Chinese woman.
Mm-hmm.
She had to be, geez, I say at least 70 plus. And she goes, "Excuse me, young man." I turn around, I say, "Yes." And she goes, "Will you teach me to pump gas?" I got a personal story that I want to share about the gospel and transcending the personal stuff, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So, this had to be, 4 years ago. Yeah, about 4 years ago, before COVID. I'm at a gas station. I'm actually on my way up here for our band rehearsal. And I'm at a gas station. I'm pumping gas. And I'm about to take my own medicine here in this story, okay? This idea of focusing on the trivial and focusing on what transcends the trivial. But I'm at a gas station pumping gas. And I finish up putting the pump back in, getting ready to get in my car. And as I'm putting the pump back into the nozzle, I hear this woman's voice. And she goes, "Young man, excuse me, young man." I turn around.
Good Asian accent.
Well, I turn around and it's this elderly Chinese woman.
Mm-hmm.
She had to be, I say at least 70 plus.
Okay.
I mean, she was like 4 foot nothing. I mean, that woman had to be 70 plus. And she goes, "Excuse me, young man." I turn around, I say, "Yes." And she goes, "Will you teach me to pump gas?" I'm like, "What?"
It's a weird question to hear in the middle of the day.
Well, not even just that. It's a weird question to hear from somebody who drove a car to a gas station. And so I'm sitting here like, what in the teach you to pump gas? I'm thinking, I'm like, this got to be a setup. Like, what are we doing? And she goes, "Yeah." She goes, I'm really scared, and I'm driving my son's car, and I don't know how to pump gas, and I'm low on gas, and I was wondering if you can teach me. Can you help me? So I say, this is weird, but okay, fine. I'm gonna help you. Lady gets excited. "Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I go get money." She goes to her car, pulls out her credit card, Dylan. And as I say, this is a 4 foot nothing elderly Chinese woman. I'm a 6 foot plus 200 plus pound black guy. Okay.
Looks great.
Yeah. Optically, right? This, what can go wrong?
Right.
Dylan, this woman comes up to me and just gives me her credit card. Gives it to me. No, nothing. Just gives it to me. "Here you go." And just sitting there looking at me like, "What next?" And I'm sitting there looking at this woman with this card in my hand like, oh my God. Like, what are we doing? So I'm like, okay. I'm thinking in my head like, Lord, I'm about to go to jail. Like, this can't be it.
Right.
I'm about to go to
That's
jail.
how I go.
Yeah. And so I take her inside. I'm like, okay. I look at her car. She was driving a small little 4-door, small little car. At the time, $20 would have probably filled her tank. Remember that when $20 would actually do something for a gas tank? But anyway.
Oh, the days.
Right. So I take her inside, and we're walking, and she walking right next to me, and we get in line, and I'm just standing there with this woman's card in my hand, and I give it back to him like, "Okay, here, you take your card for now, okay? You take the card," because I'm like, this got to be a setup. I'm going to jail. So I'm like, you take the card, and she's like, "Oh, okay, no problem," and she just sit there hold it. And we get up to the front. I say, we're going to tell them we want $20 on pump. I don't remember what pump she was on, but I told her, we're going to tell them that you're going to put in your card information, and then we'll go back out and I'll show you how to fill up the gas tank. And she's, okay. Thank you so much, young man. Thank you for your help. Okay, no problem. So we get up to the front. We tell them what pump and all that, $20 on whatever. We get out to the pump. I show her how to take the nozzle out, which graded gas to select. Put the nozzle in, and we're waiting for it to fill up. And this had to be the longest $20 pump I'd ever been a part of. But in that time from when it started to when it finished, this woman hugged me in excess of 7 or 8 times. And she's hugging me and saying, "Thank you so much for helping me, young man. I was so scared. I didn't know what I was going to do because my son's car was running out of gas, and I was trying to get back to him. I don't really know where I'm going very well, and I was scared, but thank you so much for helping me." She keeps thanking me, and keeps on hugging me. I am so uncomfortable at this point. I'm just like, okay. I'm looking at the pump like, hurry up, let's get this thing over with. And then what changed the experience for me, though, was she began to ask me a series of questions. She asked me, she said, young man, your parents do a good job with you. I said, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll be sure to tell them. She goes, okay. Where you going? I'm going to play the drums. I said I'm going to band rehearsal with my band and stuff like that. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And then she looked at me one final time, and after giving me one more hug, she starts crying. And that's really when I'm like, oh my goodness. Because of how it looks. Here I am, this black guy.
You made an old lady crying at the gas station.
This old Chinese lady crying at this gas station. And I mean, like, tears are streaming. She's crying. And she's like, because I was so scared and I didn't know what I was going to do. And you helped me. I really appreciate that. And I said, no problem, no problem. I'm looking at the pump. It's still at $20 yet. And I'm just like, oh my God. But then she asked me one final question though. And she said, young man, you Christian, aren't you? And I looked at her and I was like, yeah, I am. But why'd you ask me that? She said, I know. I can tell. And I'm like, all righty then. But that changed the experience for me though. The reason why it changed the experience for me is because here I am focused on the trivial matters of the fact that I'm a black man helping this elderly Chinese woman in what appears to be a very suspicious situation. That same situation that I viewed as suspicious, she views that it's an experience with God answering her prayers. And it got me to thinking, Dill, how many experiences have been missed out on by not only me, but people in general because of focusing on trivial matters like skin color? Mm-hmm. Here this woman is crying. I mean, joyfully crying because God has answered her prayer. She was in a situation where she was scared to know what she was going to do, and God answered her prayers in real time.
Right.
And here I am looking at the pump, waiting for this experience to be over with because I'm focused on the trivial matters because, I'm a black man first. That's how most people are. I'm a black person first. I'm a white person first. I'm a white this. I'm a black that. I'm an Indian this. I'm a Vietnamese that. But the question that she asked me really stuck with me, that you Christian, aren't you? Because it beat me over the head later on, because if the answer to that question is yes, how come I didn't see God in that experience until it was over with? Why wasn't I rejoicing with her in the fact that God had answered her prayers? I can tell you why I wasn't. Because I was focused on what doesn't matter.